This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not currently operating some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you could be doing right now that's easy and could save you money right from your phone. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Plus, auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. There are discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. And just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. So multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at progressive.com to join over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Kaylee Cuoco and Sam Claflin star in the MGM Plus original series, Vanished. When the man Alice loves disappears on a train to the south of France, every romantic memory becomes evidence. Every intimate detail, a potential threat. She thought she knew everything about him, but she may not even know his real name. 4-part thriller Vanished premieres February 1st on MGM Plus. Finding the truth is a dangerous affair.
So hello and welcome to Vulgar History, a feminist women's history comedy podcast. My name is Anne Foster. And right away I'm going to say we have a special guest. It's Amanda Matta, royal commentator, my bestie. And we're here talking about, so we're in the Regency Era. Our season is Vulgar History, Regency Era, which is technically, it's 1811 to 1820 was the Regency Era. But everybody uses it to describe kind of the early 1800s, really. And I'm specifying that because the person we're talking about dies in 1808. So she didn't actually live in the actual Regency. Oh, the way that it counts. Some of my Patreon members will know I have a bingo card on my Patreon that's Regency Era bingo. And I was half looking at it myself and I'm like, you might get a blackout bingo on her for all of the things that come up in this story. And also I would say the Regency Era, technically, it means the Regency of George, Prince of Wales, when his father, King George III from Hamilton and from Queen Charlotte of Bridgerton's story. That's how people know him. When he went mad, Prince George took over and that became the Regency. Right. But Prince George himself is all over this story. So I feel for this podcast, it's if he was alive and a woman was interesting, I'm going to talk about it.
It counts. Yeah,
it absolutely counts. Yeah, and I'm so excited to talk about this story. I'm so excited you're here for this, Amanda, because people probably know you from your royal commentary and stuff, and we're going to get into that and parallels between her and connections between her and some British royals you might know about, but also your art history background, because there's some really, really interesting portraits of this woman.
Yeah, it was funny when you told me the painting you wanted to talk about. I said, funny you should mention, because that's the exact same one that I want to talk about. And it's not the one everyone expects with Georgiana, but it's so good. And I was like, thank God we're on the same page here.
Yeah, well, it's such an iconic portrait. And so I will also mention, so Georgiana is how we're going to pronounce her name, because friends, that is how she chose to pronounce her own name.
Yes.
Some people, when you read it, you might think Georgiana, you might think Georgina, but she pronounced it Georgiana, and we'll explain why in the episode.
I actually saw a pronunciation note from a British writer that was pronounced jaw, like your jaw, Georgiana, which I guess it would be.
It probably would be. Vague spoilers. She invented an accent and a pronunciation of her own name and other words. So I don't even know. Have you seen the Keira Knightley film about her?
Have I seen the Keira Knightley film? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I have not yet. And I'm going to guess they don't use her made up accent in that film because it would be really strange.
They use the pronunciation of her name, but I don't think they affect it to the degree that it sounds like the real life Georgiana did. But you do have
Yeah.
Keira Knightley's like very strong jaw forward pronunciation of some things.
Yeah, I think Keira Knightley was a great casting choice for that. But I will also say, so like listeners, you know, if you're new to this podcast, guess what? There's tangents. There's going to be tangents. It's me and Amanda. There's going to be even more tangents. But I do want to talk about first Georgiana's connection to Princess Diana.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what the connection is?
So Georgiana was born a Spencer. So her parents were, well, actually, her dad was the first Earl Spencer, and Diana Spencer, who becomes Princess Diana in the modern era, her dad and brother are both Earl Spencer. So she's not a direct descendant of Georgiana. I think it's something like...
It's like her brothers.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think Georgiana ends up being Diana's 4 times great aunt or aunt. So they're both Spencers by birth.
They both spent time in Althorp.
Yes, they both grew up at Althorp. They had their childhood there. And then their public lives have a lot of eerie parallels as well once they're older and married and having children and being influential and iconic and all of it.
And I would say also when we're talking about Georgiana and what she looks like, I read the biography Duchess by Amanda Foreman, which is the story of Georgiana. It was the biography. And also this book sort of, here's Hepburn. She's my cat.
Hi, Hepburn.
Again, Hepburn, I don't know if there's any cats in this story, but if there are, I will be sure to mention them. I'm sure there were lots of mousers in Althorp. This is going to happen 1 million times. Patreons, this is what you're paying for. So Georgiana is described often as being not pretty. Like she's not like cute in that like conventional way, but she's very tall, like unusually tall for a woman and very striking. So I was like, oh, she's Princess Diana. She is Princess Diana. Like she's gorgeous, but not in like a cutesy way.
Conventional way.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
so often the women at the center of these stories are, like Cleopatra, Scarlett O'Hara, to pull one from literature.
Yeah.
They're described as conventionally attractive, but there's something about them.
Exactly. And the only person I'm trying to think of who like was conventionally attractive was the Madame du Barry, who was just she had this like very cute, like I'm thinking like Scarlett Johansson, like a very conventionally pretty, or like Hilary Duff, like a very pretty face that like, but Georgiana, people say this about her. It's like, there's something about her. She was so magnetic. She was, I mean, just being tall and striking does a lot in your favor. But this is where Amanda Foreman says in the biography, like none of the portraits to her, Amanda Foreman, she's like, none of them really, you don't get that sense from the portraits of the vivaciousness of this woman. I think there's just something about her person, charisma.
Yeah, I was reading that she was really unaffected. So she didn't put on airs. She just kind of was very naturalistic, which was really in at the time, being influenced by philosophers of the Enlightenment. Someone like Marie Antoinette kind of, I think, wanted that personality quirk, but Georgiana had it naturally. She just was very open, very kind, it sounds like. And yeah, she had what is called a charming lack of affectation.
Which is, for somebody with her pedigree, is interesting, I think. Yeah. So Georgiana, we talked about like her father was the Earl Spencer. There's so much in her adult life. I'm just like, I'm trying to strictly have this be a 2-part episode. Like we can't spend an episode talking about her like weird childhood.
Can do it. Yeah.
But she had a weird childhood.
A little weird. Yeah. Her parents, so her dad was John. He does become the first Earl Spencer, and her mom was Margaret Georgiana. And they had married for love, which I think is interesting and probably colors Georgiana's own expectations of what a marriage will look like. And her dad was one of the richest men in England. So they lived both at Althorp and Spencer House in St. James's. So she has this lavish upbringing, but still her parents kind of set their sights on somebody even richer for Georgiana's husband, which is crazy to think about. Like her dad's already one of the richest men in England, but spoiler, her future husband, who takes up a lot of time in this story, unfortunately, is like even more fabulously wealthy.
So it's a real, like she's, in terms of being a catch, like she is so wealthy, but she's also really lovely. She was very much, and for her whole life, the favorite. Like her mother was just like, oh my God, my daughter Georgiana is amazing. She has another daughter, Harriet, who like is throughout the story, like Georgiana and Harriet stay very tight. Oh God. Yeah. But listeners, Anyway, but Georgiana was always the special, like she had a star quality to her, even as a child. Like Harriet, her sister, looked up to her. The mother preferred her to all of her other children. Like, so she had the it factor. Like, it's not just like, here's a young, wealthy heiress, let's marry her to somebody. It's like, no, here's this amazing superstar. Like, she has everything going for her. Everybody who meets her is just like, oh my gosh, she's great. And she has this personality trait that Amanda Foreman she layers throughout the whole book, but it's always there, which is just like, she needs attention in a relatable way to you and I as podcasters and semi-public figures, I think. She has this bottomless need for like affection and love. And this puts her at risk of being manipulated and being taken advantage of because she's very needy emotionally.
Dare I say another Diana parallel too? Because something you get from, biopics and accounts of Princess Diana is this need for validation and affection. And sometimes she would even like parentify Prince William to a degree to get that like emotional feedback that she needed. Not great.
No. And it's sort of like, Princess Diana, she lived in an era where there was psychotherapy, but how much of it was she able to access? But Georgiana, that was not around. No. So we will talk about how she tries to fill this in her life, which is like, she does her best.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of her existence, and Harriet, her sister, her whole point was to make a good match. And that's kind of what she was raised to do. The expectation was she would make this fabulous marriage and improve the family's prestige, partner the family with another similar family. So that was kind of what her education was geared towards. She and her mother were very close, and they wrote letters like, I think, almost every day. So I wonder if that's something where Lady Spencer, the elder, is like one of the only people that could really understand what Georgiana, or G, as I also refer to her sometimes in my notes, was going through.
I do think one of the bingo squares is silly nickname for the Regency Era.
We have a couple good ones in this
We've
episode.
got some great ones coming up.
I was thinking of like the influencer baby name predictions. They would have, if they had existed in the 1780s, they would have had a field day with Georgiana's family.
There's a lot of Georgianas in the story, and they all get little nicknames. So the guy who she's going to marry, the guy who she does end up marrying, I want to just let listeners know, longtime listeners who listen to the Mary Queen of Scots series will remember Bess of Hardwicke. Yeah. He is a descendant from that family. Like all of Bess of Hardwicke, this real estate magnate of like the 1500s, This is his descendant. So Lord Cavendish.
Yep. Yeah, her family met him. They used to take these trips. They were very well traveled. So I guess when Georgiana was still a young-ish teenager, she met him when she would have been 14, and her family was on a trip of Belgium and France and the Netherlands. So they were in the town of Spa when the Spencers met William, who was the 5th Duke of Devonshire. And he had been the Duke from the time he was 16. So he came to the dukedom pretty early. And by the time he was meeting Georgiana, he would have been 22. So it's an age gap for sure. Not as egregious as I think the Keira Knightley movie makes it seem, because it's Ralph Fiennes plays the Duke, and Keira Knightley is supposed to be like, I think you can tell 16 or 18, but still an age gap.
And I don't know, what is your impression of, he agrees to marry her. Mm-hmm. He never likes her. So why should he marry her, do you think?
Okay, so I'm trying not to let my opinion be colored by the movie, because I think the characterizations in that movie are done very well. But in reality, so you have the Duke of Devonshire. He's called dull a lot, very reserved. He doesn't have that like outgoing vivaciousness that Georgiana does. But what he does have is like a very prestigious position in society. So he's insanely wealthy. He was twice as wealthy as Lord Spencer, Georgiana's dad, who was already like top echelon of society. So just buckets of money. He also, as the head of the Cavendish family, kind of inherited this role. And this is sadly where we have to bring in politics. He was like the leader of the Whig society. So not necessarily political himself.
I just need to say to the listeners, there are a couple of things that when I encounter them in a historical story, I'm just like, oh God, here we go. And
Napoleon's
one of those things,
mine.
Napoleon is one of mine as well.
Yep.
So is the city of Antwerp, and so is the Whigs and Tories. So I would just like to say, as the author of a book that takes place somewhat parallel to Georgiana's book, life story, the Whigs and Tories were the two political parties in England at this time. Whigs is spelled W-H-I-G. And my brain shuts off when Whigs and Tories discussion occurs, which it does a lot in this story. There's all the politics I didn't put in my book, Amanda Foreman put in her book. So if you put them together, there you go.
We can, I think, impart a little bit just to like set the groundwork, but I don't want to go down that road either. I was
going to tell you at the beginning of this podcast, it's like, this is a very important part of her legacy. Yeah. Georgiana becomes really involved in politics, and great for her. Women were not doing this, but like Amanda and I are not going to be talking about it. Like the minimum, when I was writing my book, Amanda, and I realized I had to actually learn about Whigs and Tories, I was furious. I made this Google doc of who was prime minister when and which party was he in. And for like a week, I knew all this stuff. And then I immediately made myself forget it.
Because it's not relevant, right? I think what's important to know is the Georgian era is when we first get like party politics in the UK. You have ministers. If you've ever watched The Favourite with Queen Anne, you see it there too. Like Nicholas Hoult is one, and then there's an old guy on the other side, and they're kind of vying for her political opinions back and forth. So this is like not even 100 years on from like the introduction of this political system in the UK. Now the Whigs, I think it is important to know that King George III hated them.
The Whigs are like the more, so in terms of the Whigs and Tories, here's what I still know. The Whigs were slightly more progressive.
Yes.
And the king didn't like them. And the Tories were more conservative, like, let's keep everything the same. Yep. And the king liked them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no Whigs anymore. But these are the two parties. So like the Whigs are kind of like the cool up and coming. The like
to an extent. Yeah. They still like think that you should have your own land in order to vote, and women don't get the vote. Sure. But
it's not Bernie Sanders is not the Whigs. But it's like, anyway, so the Whigs are a bit more progressive as much as you can be. The Tories are very like institutional. And in my book, Rebel of the Regency, coming out in 2 weeks. Or so from when you listen to this episode. My editor at one point, because I was talking about in my book, like there's Caroline of Brunswick and there's her husband, George IV, aka Prinny, and they kept switching back and forth who was supporting the Whigs or the Tories. And my editor was like, oh, before you said that she was supporting the Whigs but not the Tories, I'm like, you didn't register as a party. In this. Like people were elected to parliament and they in a couple days could switch sides. Like it was
pretty nebulous.
Georgiana's family and her husband's family, like they're like firmly Whigs only ever. But it was kind of like the King George III supported the Tories, and because his son George hated him, he supported the Whigs. But then the Tories kind of seduced Prince George, and then he became a Tory. So it's like it's moving back and forth. So I had to explain this in my book as best as I could, because whoever the king supported, his son would support the opposite, and whoever the son supported, Caroline of Brunswick would support the opposite. So they kept pivoting.
That's fun. Not really. I hate that for you, actually. I'm so sorry.
That's why I had a Google Doc.
Well, what you need to know for the purposes of talking about the Duke is the Cavendish family, the Spencer family, and the Portland family. They were like the head of Whig society. So they were seen as like the hot young radicals, even though they weren't all hot or young, presumably.
I will say, so there's a third party. There's a party called the Radicals. And they're the people, that is the Bernie Sanders of the Regency era. But they're not involved in this story at all.
Nope. Small R radicals. So, okay, back to why this guy needed a Georgiana for his wife, right? So he's like the head of this Whig society, and that involves throwing parties. And he's also the financial patron of the Whigs. So, he's choosing who to bankroll, who to support, get people elected to parliament. And he himself, he's offered, I think, a position in the king's cabinet like 3 times throughout his life, but he declines every time. So to me, that tells me like he himself is not comfortable in the spotlight. He just wants to kind of pull the strings from backstage. And in marrying someone like Georgiana, not only do you get the family connection, kind of strengthening this head of Whig society position as it was, but you also get a hostess and somebody who can throw these parties and mingle on your behalf. And that would have been something expected of a wife, in addition to having an heir, having babies.
And where I want to also just like there's so many Princess Diana parallels, but one that there is not is Georgiana is not shy. Georgiana is so outgoing and so extroverted. She loves being around people. This is part of the like attention needing.
Yeah, isolation is not good for her.
No. So like throwing parties, she is never happier than when she's in a room full of people at a party, planning a party, doing a party. Like she thrives in this environment. So this is actually, so in that sense, she's just the wife that he needs. Yeah.
Yeah. The position's good for her. What is not good is that you get quotes from contemporary. He hates her. He's the only man in England not charmed by his wife. Basically, that's like an actual contemporaneous quote from people just observing their marriage, because they're at the head of society. They're going to be talked about. There's going to be gossip about this marriage. But at the same time, Georgiana is the most interesting thing about the Duke of Devonshire. So that sucks for him.
No, and this is big Charles and Diana energy, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because that was where he started treating her. They went on a tour of, I think, Australia. And she was so beloved just after they got married. And he was like, wait a minute, people like her and not me?
The best anecdote is when they would get out of a car to do like the walkabout, depending on which, side they got, like the crowd was divided on either side of the car. And if Diana started walking towards like the right side instead of the left, you would hear like audible groans because the left side of this crowd knew that they were getting Charles. And like, yeah, I get why as the prince, as the man in this relationship, you would hate that. But your wife's so beautiful and everyone loves her. Like, what's your deal, dude?
And Georgiana, so she marries him and she's entered into society and she becomes, and she remains for the whole rest of her life, the number one celebrity in the world. Like so I'm trying to think of, I don't even know who that person is now, who's just like universally, she's like the Beyonce. She's the Taylor Swift. Like people are just like,
setting trends.
Like they see her, I picture her stepping into the carriage for the first time. She's like, whatever, 5'10", striking. And everyone's just like, who? And she's so lovely. And this is where I talk about in my book also, the tabloid press is just starting. Yeah. And people, so like celebrity, like our modern concept of like a famous, like just a debutante, like a rich woman being famous, like this is just starting. And people are obsessed with her. Like when they write about her, they sell more issues of their magazine or whatever. Like, and it's because she's great and everyone loves her and she wears these outfits. And that's where I have some notes actually.
Yes. Yeah. Please. So, I mean, when she marries the Duke, she's 16, he's 24. Only 5 people attended the wedding, which I thought was interesting. It was Georgiana's parents, the Duke's mother, the Duke's brother, and his sister, the Duchess of Portland. So I found that interesting. It wasn't used as a chance to do a big society affair, but maybe that wasn't like what you did in the Georgian era.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that interesting. Like in a different era, we would have had the Charles and Diana like fairy tale wedding for these two, like for sure.
Actually, what I want to say too, and this is where it's giving me a bit of Marie Antoinette as well. They get married and her job is to like host these parties and also to give birth to children. Yes. And she does not right away. So in a similar way to Marie Antoinette, like she distracts herself with fashion that's like increasingly outrageous. So,
and I mean, also similar to Marie Antoinette, she steps into a system she hadn't really been prepared for. Like as much as her parents prepared her for marrying well, they didn't really set her up for success in running household. And she took over, it was Chatsworth House, Hardwick Hall, Chiswick House, and Lismore Castle, as well as the estates of Lonsborough and Bolton Abbey in Yorkshire. So that's like a huge amount of responsibility to make sure these houses are well run, taken care of, overseeing the staff, as well as throwing lavish parties. And normally, I guess she would have gotten I'm sorry, I said earlier, the Duke's mother was at the wedding. I guess it was his grandmother. My bad. Because the Duke's mother had died 20 years ago, meaning that Georgiana had nobody to like learn from on running these estates. So she kind of has to learn on the job, which is a handicap as well.
And I'm going to imagine that the fact that she didn't take to it immediately as a teenager made him hate her even more. Because
probably. Yeah.
Listeners, he sucks. So, but here's some fashion information.
Please.
So, and she's living in parallel to Marie Antoinette. So like a lot of the fashions Marie Antoinette was up to, similar things are happening in England. And eventually the two of them do become friends.
There's sort of a, like, which came first, Marie Antoinette or Georgiana, like in terms of popularizing the poof is one.
Here we go. Georgiana took the fashion, this is from Amanda Foreman's book, she took the fashion a step further by creating the 3-foot hair tower.
Mm-hmm.
She stuck pads of horsehair to her own hair using scented pomade and decorated the top with miniature ornaments. Sometimes she carried a ship in full sail, or an exotic arrangement of stuffed birds and waxed fruit, or even a pastoral tableau with little wooden trees and sheep.
I love it. It reminds me of like a Kate Spade bag now shaped like a croissant. Like I think that's our equivalent. Like something very cutesy and like kitschy. I wish we could do fruit in the hair though, and not look like the Chiquita banana woman.
Well, and this is where we get into like the Bridgerton of it all. Like when people today think of it, I think they think of like the previous season of Bridgerton where Queen Charlotte had a moving carousel in her wig.
Yeah.
Like, and Bridgerton takes place a bit later from when Georgiana was living, but Queen Charlotte still dresses like this earlier era. And this is
I find that so interesting. And that was like a way of holding on to the reins of power in society. Like forcing people at the British court to dress like they had 20 years ago as like a way of saying we're above all of these trends. Like so interesting psychologically.
Well, and also how much of this is Queen Charlotte being like, I was happy in this era. Let's pretend.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Georgiana. So she has the poufs. She also has the big dresses. Another Diana parallel. The ostrich feathers. Yep.
I have a quote here about the ostrich feathers. Oh, you go ahead.
Her hair was so tall with the ostrich feathers, and her skirts were so big that she had to sit on the floor of her carriage whenever she went anywhere. So it was probably just her in a carriage when she was going from place to place in her Georgian era big skirts. And it reminded me too of Diana getting out of the carriage for her wedding with her skirt all wrinkled because it had been stuffed in that carriage.
No, it's like people you hear about going to the Met Gala or the Oscars. It's like they have to stand.
You can't sit down. Yeah.
She's stuffing herself 5'10", 3 feet leather poof skirt into a carriage somehow, making her way from place to place. But read the ostrich feathers.
Yeah, so, please.
So the British ambassador in Paris, maybe she was in Paris. I don't know. She went back and forth to Paris a lot. But anyway, Lord Stormont, the British ambassador in Paris, presented her with an ostrich feather that was 4 feet long. Overnight, it became the most important accessory in a lady's wardrobe, even though the tall, nodding plumes were difficult to find and extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So I think you see this a lot when you look at just pictures or, fashion drawing this era. Like it's women and they're wearing these huge feathers. So this was, I find it interesting. It's the same way, like Nicole Kidman wearing heels or Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like you're a tall woman and you're making yourself take up even more space.
Right.
Like you're just becoming this like goddess, really.
Yeah. And I mean, some people found that like ridiculous, but I think in general, and Amanda Foreman talks about this, I read it on her website. She says Georgiana's youth protected her when she started to experiment like this with her clothes. Society likes fresh young talent with bold ideas. Georgiana was not only unafraid to challenge the rules of fashion, she relished the opportunity to exert her power. So there's a line in the film where Georgiana, Keira Knightley, says to the Duke, you have so many ways of expressing yourself, whereas we women have to make do with our hats and our dresses. And so this is something she kind of learns early on, how to express herself through her clothing, and it'll come up again later in her life.
Well, and it's very much... It's similar to Marie Antoinette, except Marie Antoinette was expressing herself through fashion, and then her haters use that to demonize her.
Well received.
Georgiana was expressing herself with fashion. Everyone's like, "This is great. She's great.
She's so smart and pretty, and we love her."
Yeah. So it's interesting that the two things are kind of going in parallel. I'm not sure if it was around at this time or not, but she at some point visits Versailles. She meets Marie Antoinette. They get along amazingly. Obviously, like they have all this in common. Just being sort of married to weird men.
Weird, boring men, yeah.
I think they have like psychological things in common, but also I think they have fun together. So she met the Duchess of Polignac and they became friends. And this is, so like they were correspondents, her and Marie Antoinette and the Duchess of Polignac. Like they became pen pals. They were all, because there's a lot of like Paris, London going back and forth in this pre-revolutionary era, which is what we're in.
Yep. Which I think is so cute. Like, I'm glad she had a gal pal. Well, I'm sorry, I should say a healthy gal pal, because she does have gal pals, and one very notable one.
Yes. But the next notes I have are about her accent. So
yes, please.
So this is called the Devonshire House drawl. So it's been characterized as part baby talk, part refined affectation. And they just sort of chose to pronounce words in new ways. This reminds me of something you might do if you're in like fourth grade. A group of friends are like, we're just going to talk like this now. And then the teachers are like, what are you even saying? Like, it's just a bunch of young people just being like, let's be silly. Let's pronounce vowels differently.
I think they like lengthen the vowels. And it's sometimes like overly dramatic. And I've read that it was possible that Georgiana had that accent, that British, there's like a British accent where they can't quite pronounce an R correctly. So it's possible she had that and like just worked with it and made it into something trendy. But it's also possible that this was like fashionable and she kind of picked up on it. And then because she picked up on it, other people did too. So, I mean, talk about trend setting. Like, I
have some examples here.
Please. Yes.
So cucumber becomes cowcumber. Gold becomes gould. And spoil rhymes with mile. Stresses fell on unexpected syllables, such as balcony instead of balcony, and contemplate instead of contemplate.
It reminds me of Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek.
It's exactly Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. It's exactly that. But she started doing that, and because in the real like Regina George Mean Girls way, everyone's like, I guess we are going to talk like this now too. And then everyone does. And then to the point that it becomes just like, that's just how people talk.
That's like she
funny. Created this accent.
Yes, they do not do that in the movie. Sadly, that would have, I think, given it a different tone. Like that would have made it more of like a dark comedy.
So by the middle of we're like 1770s is where we're talking. Yep. By the mid 1800s, all Whigs talk like this. Like this just became the Whig accent.
That's crazy.
I like to think
she was a trendsetter.
What if it was just a prank? What if she's just being like, I bet I can get everyone to talk differently. And then
I hope so. No, because she was so unaffected. She really must have meant it.
It was, and this is why she's called Georgiana. And it was funny, when I first started preparing for this, I listened to a couple other people's podcasts about her, and some of them pronounced it Georgiana. And I thought, why are they saying it that way? It was like a woman, I forget which podcast it was, but she had like a Southern American accent. And I'm like, oh, that must just be how you pronounce Georgiana in the South. But then it's like, oh no, and helpfully, the woman who recorded my audiobook, she, just as I had learned that it's Georgiana, she sent a list of like, how do you pronounce these words? Like to make sure and one of them was this. And I was like, well, actually it's Georgiana. A week earlier,
in this context,
I wouldn't have known that a week before she asked that question. So the timing of it was perfect, because Georgiana does show up briefly in my book, just because she's, well, actually, let's talk about her friend circle. She is friends with everybody influential, all these, I'm good, the bitches. You sort of hinted at this. There are women in her life. They are bitches. She's like the queen bee, but she's nice, which is an interesting thing. Like she's kind. And I was trying to think, if she was in Mean Girls, she would be like the Lacey Chabert character. Like she just wants everyone to like her. Yeah. Is her energy. I think.
Yeah, in a way. She's very, it seems like she's always looking for the best in other people. She's not jaded by society, which props to her. Like she could have been. She had every right to be.
But this makes people sometimes take advantage of her or manipulate her. But one of her friends becomes George, the Prince of Wales. They become very close, which is interesting. She was never his lover. She's a bit older than him, but all of his lovers were always a bit older than him. But at this point in her life, Georgiana, she's married to what's-his-face, who sucks, Cavendish. She can't take a lover until she has a son. Like she cannot have any question about the paternity of her children.
Yeah, it's unthinkable.
And she still has had no children. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 or 9 years after the marriage until they have kids, which is another parallel with Marie Antoinette. I think it's almost exactly like year for year, which is interesting.
Yeah, and she has a daughter. She has, I think, two daughters.
Two daughters.
Yeah, so she...
Well,
she's stuck with this guy.
And the Duke, before they're even married, he has one illegitimate child. He had an affair while he was betrothed to Georgiana with a former milliner or hat maker named Charlotte Spencer, possibly a relation of her. I don't know.
Amanda Philbin says not a relation, but...
Yeah, good. Okay. So they had a daughter. And then he also, a couple of years after the marriage in 1778, he commands a militia. And while he's off, he has an affair with Lady Jersey, and she even shares his tent, and it's like not a secret. So he's allowed to have affairs and even have children out of wedlock. But Georgiana, there's no question, her job is to throw these parties and get pregnant. And she does a really, really good job of throwing the parties. She becomes like the head of society very, very quickly, but she's not getting pregnant.
And this is in terms of the Marie Antoinette parallels, like this is, Marie Antoinette did not conceive children because she and her husband were little nerds who didn't know how sex worked. Georgiana
is maybe had a condition.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But like Georgiana's husband is fathering children all over the place. Like
yes.
He knows how to do this.
He knows how to do it. He used to spend all night out at the club playing cards, presumably dancing with other women. And they actually, their primary residence was London. They didn't live at their country house most of the year. But when they did come to Chatsworth, they would have so many people over to the extent that like the house was essentially open to the public. And apparently once a month, the Duke and Duchess would just throw a big dinner, and anybody who came to visit, like, you were welcome to stay for dinner. So another Versailles kind of parallel, like anybody could get in as long as they were dressed correctly. I
was thinking that's just like Versailles. Yeah. So Georgiana, like in terms of her not having children, it's, she knows that this is like throwing the parties is her job, but having heirs is like her real job. And this stresses her out so much. Her mother is blaming her for this in a kind of like Marie Antoinette and her mom sort of way. But she has he clearly can father children and has and continues to. So she takes this all on herself. Like, what's wrong with me? She does. And this is like in another Princess Diana parallel, eating disorder type stuff comes up.
Foreman says that not only did she have like binges and purges, but she also took drugs, presumably to block out emotions. I think Foreman describes it as using all available means to silence the voices in her head, which like we can't know that, but it does seem like she was compensating in her social life and just partying hard, which in turn might have been contributing to her difficulties. There were at least a couple, I think, miscarriages early in his marriage. And some of them, her biographers do trace back to what they call her destructive lifestyle. I think it's so hard to pin fertility issues on any one cause. I don't love that, but both are happening, right? She's partying, she's drinking, she's gambling. That's the other thing going on.
She's gambling. This is her life's passion. And
she loves it, as do many people in Georgian society, I will say.
That's on the bingo card. On the bingo card, I think, is gambling debts, which she does get into.
She sure does.
There's a game that she's playing. It's called Pharaoh, Faro. And it seems like the most chaotic, rules-free. Of course, you're going to lose your money.
It's not a skill game. It's just a luck game.
It's just a luck game. And
she picks the ones where your skill doesn't help, which is, I think, the biggest problem here.
So she gets really similar to Marie Antoinette in this way. Like, I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but it's so because Marie Antoinette, she didn't have children. She was really struggling. So she started having parties. She started wearing these crazy outfits. Like,
and compensate in other ways.
They're both like 18 years old and just like doing the best they can.
Yeah. I have some information on her debts if you would like the nitty gritty.
She falls into debt early and stays in debt for her whole life.
Yep. So the first time she finds herself deep in debt, it was for £3,000, which today is just under 300,000 American dollars. So she, instead of going to her husband, she asks her parents for a loan because I guess she's embarrassed. She doesn't want the Duke to know. And her parents are like, okay, we'll give you the money, but you do need to tell your husband. This is a little insane. So she does tell him, he finds out, and he repays her parents. And the next several decades will continue having to pay off his wife's gambling debts.
And she is always embarrassed by it.
She always tries to hide them.
She always tries to, when she's forced to like admit her debts, she never admits the full amount of them.
No.
Like she's clearly carrying such a deep shame about it, and she can't stop Well, I think it's like once you get into that spiral of gambling, as people still do say who have gambling issues, like, well, if I just do one more and I win, then it'll pay everything off. Yeah.
Foreman says that if there was ever going to be a true reckoning of her debts, the Devonshire estate would have been bankrupted several times over. So this is an issue. And I think a reason that she keeps it such a secret is the Duke could presumably mortgage part of his estate to cover her debts, but he's not allowed to mortgage his estate until he produces a legitimate heir, which is another reflection back on Georgiana. She can't have a son for him, so he can't pay her gambling debts, and so everyone's miserable.
Yeah.
And so she's always borrowing money from friends, even though her husband's the wealthiest man in England, basically. The Prince of Wales gives her money and like sets her up with bankers in London to help cover her debts. Like everybody kind of knows.
Yeah, and she's her friendship with the Prince of Wales, aka Prinny, he also is in debt constantly all the time. But he would know. He's like, here's the people who will still loan you money even when you have. But it's sort of like all the people that she gets to loan her money, she makes them feel like they're the only person doing it, so they don't know. So she asks for money for a bit of her debt. So like, and she's like, don't tell anybody. So all these people know about it, but they don't tell each other.
No, yeah, sure.
So she's got this kind of like community of people who think they're the only one who know, and they're the only one who's helping her, but actually it's everyone.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, so it's her whole life. It's not until after her death, which everyone outlives her, basically. She's the first in her circle to die. And so her husband and her son, after she dies, have to make a public appeal because they don't even know how many people she owes money to. So they made a public appeal. Anybody who believed themselves owed from Georgiana's estate to come forward and like get their debts paid, basically.
Yeah. Well, because she loves talking about it because it's like, I don't know, if you get like bills in the mail and you just like stuff them away and you're like, I'll think about that tomorrow, like your credit card bills or something. Yeah. It's just like, she couldn't even keep track of how much she owed and to who, because this is like, I just feel so much sympathy for her as this young woman. Like she's under so much pressure, like his
more money, more problems, you know?
Yeah. Like the Cavendishes are really putting all these expectations on her, like her own family. She herself she's extremely young, and everyone's just like, well, just get pregnant, just have a child. Like no one can help her with this. So like, yeah, she's turning when you said she's using drugs before, like what it is, it's like opium, like which is equivalent to nowadays, like heroin, basically. Like,
yeah, it's hard stuff.
Yeah. Like that's the extent of how miserable she is.
And like you said, she has this need for attention and affection. And I think at this point, should we bring in her lifelong friend and foil?
I'm going to bring in a previous friend. This Regency Era season has had more sapphic stories in it than any other season have ever done, which is interesting. And initially, I didn't think I'm going to do all these stories, but I just keep coming upon them. But this is a chaotic bisexual story, just so. In my opinion, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on it.
She certainly, we've talked about in other previous episodes, like for instance, Mary Wollstonecraft had like very passionate friendships with women that people now interpret as like, oh, did she have romantic or sexual feelings for these women? Like we know she didn't have sexual relationships with these women, Mary Wollstonecraft, because she wrote very honestly about her life and her experiences. But Georgiana met a woman whose name was Mary. I don't have the last name here. Anyway, they met in Brighton and they became completely infatuated with each other, as you might with a crush or as you might with a new friend if you're somebody who's incredibly emotionally needy. Both of them, they were so devoted to each other, they became, Amanda Foreman wrote, they were frightened that the intensity of their friendship would become the subject of gossip. Like they knew that they felt more strongly about each other than women usually did. And so part of this with Georgiana, I think, is her unfillable need to be loved. And when she met somebody who loved her, she got really happy about it, no matter who that person was, really.
Sure. And I think just at the time too, like women even if it was just a friendship, were writing to each other in such effusive, flowery language. I could see Georgiana being somebody to like actually read into that and being like, oh no, this is love. Like this is the real deal. Just because that's, I think, the type of person she is. Like, she doesn't feel anything in a subtle way, it seems.
No, and I think if someone was flirting with her, she'd be like, they're in love with me. Like, I don't think
we all have that friend too.
Games or things. So Amanda Foreman says about this friend Mary, whether and to what extent physical intimacy played a part in Georgiana's relationship with Mary is impossible to determine. Several of her friendships contain an element of flirtatiousness. It was a French habit she'd acquired from Madame de Polignac and Marie Antoinette. So it's interesting because there were those rumors about Marie Antoinette and Madame de Polignac and their sort of flirtatious friendship, and Georgiana hung out with them. So it's certainly part of her story. Here it says, so even taking hyperbole into account, Georgiana's letters to Mary were more personal, more intense, clearly separating them from her other correspondence. So eventually the two of them just kind of, they drifted apart, but yeah.
Yeah. Is this the one that died of like tuberculosis?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was something that Georgiana took very hard and just kind of like tragically ended their relationship. It's so hard to know, like, because everything's kind of understood in relative to how we know people who were just friends were writing to each other. So I don't know. I'm always a little bit more hesitant to ascribe bisexuality or lesbian love affairs, but I think it's possible. Definitely.
Yeah. It's such a, and I've had like various like queer historians on the show and stuff where it's like looking at these letters, like we're always just looking at it through a modern lens, but what did it actually mean at the time? Right. I don't know. So we are going to talk about her lifelong friend / my relative. Not really, but maybe. But she I don't think I've ever told you, sorry, this is one of the tangents. My family thinks that we're related to Lord Byron. He had like a lot of children. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how far back we would have to go, but we have Byrons in our family. And I was like looking into it again the other day, and I was like, I have to tell Anne Foster, Lord Byron hater, about this and see if she still wants to be friends with me. I think if you have like 1/18th Byron in you, that's just enough to give you some like flair and joie de vivre. I think if you've got any more than that, from what I've seen of your life, I'm not concerned. But thank you. Yeah. Wow. Well, no, there was a person coming up in this story who was last name Foster, and I was like, Foster? Me? Maybe it is her married last name, but whatever. But she also makes friends with Fox, who is he's a Whig politician, and he introduces her to like politics and like that political life. And I'm sure people do have rumors that they had an affair. Again, she's not sleeping with any man other than her husband. Yeah. Until she has a son. But anyway, so she meets Charles Fox, and she has this like, I feel like, again, in 21st century, like putting our ideas on people, but I feel like she's got a big ADHD energy to me. I think she just like always wants to be doing something. She is like, she's never able to just sit still, and she has this energy. And so she like turns to drugs and gambling and whatever. And I think he's like, what about politics? And she's like, yes. And this like gives her a thing to do. And again, we're not going to get into the Whigs and Tories of it all, but she becomes really interested in a genuine way in politics and helping out the Whig Party. And it's because she meets this guy, Charles Fox, who they get along really well. Because I want to let you know, I personally was like, oh my God, I've heard this name. He's in my Google Doc. Like, who cares? But here. So 18th century England was full of wits, connoisseurs, orators, historians, drinkers, gamblers, rakes, and pranksters. But only Fox embodied all of those things. I have that quote written down too. It's so good. So he did things like he experimented with his hair color. He would powder his, like, this isn't like, it's like powdered wigs era, like everything got like the gray, but he would powder his hair blue. He would powder his hair red. He wore multicolored shoes and velvet frills. So he was, I don't even know. He's like Billy Porter. He's like out there just like he's like Harry Styles. Yeah. He's a man wearing these amazing outfits, and she's just like, oh. Benson Boone. He's doing backflips. He's wearing sequins. And he's getting elected. Yeah, and she's like, wait, you can be into politics and also wear cool outfits? Like, I am I am down.
Yeah.
She's committed for the rest of her life. She's like all about Whig politics. And it's because this guy, like, he's wearing these outfits and he's also genuinely passionate about politics. So she's just like, so this gets her, this is one of her lifelong friends. She also, I promise listeners, we are going to get to her friend / my relative, but she also wrote a novel around this time called The Sylph. It was published as anonymously as a young lady, similar to how Jane Austen wrote her book, like by a lady. But this is, again, sort of Georgiana, like, you just picture her just like she wants something. Motherhood is what she knows she should be doing, and she's not able to do that. So she's like, I'll do politics, I'll do gambling, I'll write a novel. Like, she's just trying to fill her life with things. And now for a quick advertising break. It's a new year and time to get back to feeling like yourself. If losing weight is one of your 2026 goals and you're ready to make progress you can count on, then Weight Loss by Hers might be the right fit for you. Through Hers, you're connected with a medical provider who determines if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment plan is personalized to support you in reaching your goals. Plus, you can access a range of treatment options like oral medication kits or GLP-1 injectables. Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to ongoing care, dosage, and medication adjustments, lifestyle and nutrition tips, and 24/7 support with no hidden costs or membership fees. And with options starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid upfront in full, Hers provides access to options that fit your goals and your budget. Feel like your best self again. Visit forhers.com/vulgar to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/vulgar, forhers.com/vulgar. Weight Loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded drug products are not approved or evaluated for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
New Year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
Oh, please, not that music. That music gives me nightmares from my childhood.
Could we get something a little bit lighter? Some lighter music here.
Are you a fan of true crime TV shows?
And what about Unsolved Mysteries, the show that jump-started all of our love of true crime?
I'm Ellen Marsh.
And I'm Joey Taranto.
And we host I Think Not, a true crime comedy podcast covering some of the wildest stories from your favorite true crime campy TV shows all the way to Unsolved Mysteries.
Baby, you will laugh, you will cry, you'll think about true crime in a whole new way, and you'll also ask yourself, who gave these people mics?
New episodes of I Think Not are released every Wednesday with bonus episodes out every Thursday on Patreon.
And every Monday, you can listen to our True Crime Rundown, where we go over the top true crime headlines of the week.
So come and join us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Melissa, and this is Moms and Mysteries.
We're 2 Florida moms obsessed with true crime. From infamous cases like Ellen Greenberg to shocking Florida stories like the Dan Markel killing.
With 55 million downloads, we bring you new deep dives every Tuesday and Thursday.
Listen to Moms and Mysteries on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back.
Yeah. And she writes over the course of her life. So she writes this novel. It's a thinly veiled account of her own social circle. So it's kind of understood to have real people with fake names in it. And it is never like openly connected to her, but she is said to have like admitted in private, like, yeah, I wrote this book and published it. So it's about an aristocratic bride seduced into wickedness by the Ton. So it exposes the corrupt morals of like the real life Georgiana's social circle. And I think it was Foreman who said it was written during one of the many low periods in her life when she was attempting to reform her gambling vice and fast lifestyle. It was published in 1778. But she was also a poet. She wrote later in her life a book of poetry, including The Passage of the Mountain of St. Gothard. She also kept a journal and she wrote lots of letters. Like we talked about, she wrote to her mom every day, to Marie Antoinette. Later in her life, she writes to her children. So she has like a really rich literary history attached to her too.
She does. And a lot of the letters do still survive. Actually, shout out, there is a listener to this podcast. I hope she's listening to this episode, who is a descendant of Georgiana. Her name is Georgiana. And
that's fantastic.
She helped me with some stuff when I was writing my book. I was trying to figure out, honestly, it was Whigs and Tories based. I was trying to figure out about the House of Lords. And I just posted on Instagram, I'm like, can anyone explain to me about the House of Lords? And she's like, well, my father's in the House of Lords. Oh. So
okay, got it.
I can ask him. I was like, thank you. And she's like, also, I am descended from Georgiana. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So she's related to Princess Diana in some way.
Yeah. So I forget why I mentioned that. I just wanted to shout out.
Does she have like a collection of writings or something?
Yeah. So she has the letters, I think, are mostly in various archives and stuff. Georgiana, I forget, she has, in the break between episode 1 and 2, I'll look up because she said she has a couple of things from Georgiana.
Wow. Yeah, I think Chatsworth has most of them now.
Yeah, like she wrote so much and a lot of the stuff is still there. Although in this like way I keep coming across in this podcast, some of her Victorian descendants like blacked out some parts of some letters. Some of the like...
I hate the Victorians. The more I learn about them. Eating mummies, burning diaries, like let's not.
I think I would love to have you on an episode where we're just like, so these
batshit things the Victorians did.
The Victorians. Yeah. Everything. But yeah. So
I did an episode. It was when we did the Lady Audacity podcast, and we just did an episode on Victoria versus her children, just being an asshole to her kids. That was a very cathartic episode.
Yeah. The Victorians. This is, I want to just pause in this moment. So the Victorians, like Victoria herself was just like, let's write, not correct, but like, English society was getting so much of just like gambling and opium and like debts and like all this stuff. And she's just like, let's just make it all be like morally, Victoria wanted England to be like morally correct. And she's like, I'm married to my husband. We're going to have children. There's no scandal here. England should be really like, meanwhile, she's like literally a nymphomaniac. But she set up this kind of understanding we still have of like England is like posh and refined and the royal family is like good and we should look up.
It was not like that in Georgiana's time.
No, in Georgiana's time, it was just wild. Like everybody was on opium, gambling all the time, having
tits were out.
Tits were literally out. Like the Regency era. When we look at things like Bridgerton, for instance, it's very much like how the Victorians made it seem like the Regency era was, when it was actually like just like
live fast, die young. Yeah.
That's what it was actually.
It was a tits out era.
About. It was literally a tits out era. So she's again, just Georgiana, just some other cool stuff she did. So she became involved in Whig politics. Her husband went off to like fight. We're in the like French Revolution era wars.
Yeah, I didn't look into what he was actually doing except for letting Lady Jersey stay in his tent with him.
Lady Jersey, who was also one of the lovers of George, Prince of Wales, aka Prinny. She was the one who chose Caroline of Brunswick to be his wife. She's head bitch, Lady Jersey. I was just like, Lady Jersey, what are you doing in this book? God damn it.
Oh, there she is.
Anyway, so Georgiana and the other wives, they went like on the campaign and they like dressed in these sort of like soldier outfits, but for ladies. Cause she's like, how can we support our men? I know, outfits. And and it actually was really effective. Nothing like it had ever been witnessed before. Milliners' shops began making fans bearing Georgiana's portrait, which sold in the hundreds. Like this just made her more of a celebrity by like wearing these kind of soldier outfits to support her man. This is, I think, around the same time Marie Antoinette, like she started doing like an outfit. It was like a la Devonshire, which was like, so they started wearing kind of like British style military jackets.
Yep. Yeah. She set trends. I'm trying to find, there were a couple I wrote down. One of them was Devonshire brown. So she also popularized the color brown.
She invented the color brown, y'all, like before Pantone.
Before sad beige mom influencers, there was Georgiana wearing brown.
Well, and the colors of the wigs were blue and buff, which is like, I guess, beige.
Yeah. And when she gets into her political activity, which there's more to come there as well, but that fashion is part of that as well. And she starts to look towards like American military uniforms. So that would have been the blue and buff, like the khaki color of the rebels in America. So that's another thing she brings in eventually.
So she's got really keen instincts about sort of PR type things, and we're going to see that play out more and more. But it's interesting like now there's so many people who are online being like, "Hey, I can help you with your branding. I can help you whatever. I can help you get more followers." Yeah. And she just instinctively is like, "Hey, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be effective. People are going to follow me," and they just do. Like she knows just what to do and when. It's
and I mean, it extends beyond fashion to like interior design. And she brings like Sèvres porcelain from France to Derby. And then the English porcelain industry like kicks off because they're copying this French stuff that Georgiana loves. So yeah, it's every little aspect of society. She also was a crystal girl. Did you see this?
No.
She loved rocks and crystals. She had a collection of minerals, and that was one of the hats she tried on. She was like a scientific mineral girl. Yeah, and her collection was so big that Chatsworth still has it. She had one specimen of quartz that was over 3 feet high. And she eventually was like, one of the things she taught to her kids was mineralogy. She loves crystals.
I love how multifaceted she is, honestly, because I think she's a person. There's so much in her story. Like to me, before I read this book, I just knew her as like fashion. Like I know that she had these big hats, and I knew that there was kind of this like scandalous personal life. But then I started reading. I'm like, whoa, she was like so influential in politics, and now and she's influential in science, and she was a writer. It's like she's so well-rounded. Like people don't know what to do about a woman in history who has there's so many men who. Leonardo da Vinci or whatever. It's just like, wow, he was an artist and a scientist, and like, but it's like a woman can only be one thing, but it's like she was all of these things and a mess and a gambling addict.
A mess. Yeah. I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Yeah. And she loved to travel. That's where she picked up a lot of her minerals, her rocks and mineral collection, but also inspiration for her writings. She loved like the Alps specifically. And so that's where she wrote a lot of her most like evocative fiction and poetry. So yeah, she is a well-rounded Renaissance woman, I guess you could say.
And then she meets Elizabeth Foster. Yes. Brackets, no relation to me. But brackets, maybe relation to me. So Elizabeth Foster she's married to a guy whose last name is Foster, who's like an Irish lord. And they're estranged. She and the Irish lord are not together anymore. I do have some connection to Ireland. So I'm just
maybe.
But it's like, if I'm related to anyone, it's to her shitty husband.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be related.
I'd rather not. But I'm just excited I don't know if you've ever seen a Mata show up in a historical story.
Never.
Italy? Where would they be? I don't know.
Italy or like Poland? Maybe? Yeah. I've never encountered one in the wild.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see a Foster show up. So Elizabeth Foster, explain.
Oh, where to start? So they meet at Bath. In Bath, yep. Or I don't know how Georgiana herself would have said it.
Base.
I don't know. So they meet in 1782. Bess has been married since 1776, but she and her husband separate in 1781. And at this time, she's being prevented from seeing her 2 children by her husband. So this is like the backdrop to her and Georgiana, who hasn't yet had any children. So I assume they trauma bonded like immediately. Is my assumption.
That's also, just in terms of Georgiana, she's like this Princess Diana, sort of tall, striking, not conventionally pretty, but like gorgeous person. You know who Georgiana is to me a bit? It's like a Bella Hadid type person, where it's like, wow, you're so like elegant and like beautiful, but not like pretty. Bess, for that is what she is known as, Bess Foster, is pretty. She's like hot. She's like an Elizabeth Taylor. She's like black hair, pale skin. She's like
in the Keira Knightley movie. She's played by Haley Atwell. Agent Carter of the Captain America franchise. So I get that like curvaceous, like pretty face, maternal, like kind of MILF energy, if I can say that.
Well, no, and I feel like in the movie, as in life, like Georgiana is like a Keira Knightley, like a Princess Diana, like tall and very like willowy thin.
Yes.
And then Bess is like curvaceous, like voluptuous. So like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Haley
Two
Atwell.
sides of the same era of womanhood. I don't know.
Yeah. So she's gorgeous and nice. And so there's so much written about her by Georgiana's mom and other people who find Georgiana's children. Bess is very affected. She's very like, I don't know how to some people see her as like very obviously manipulating and being like, oh, like playing up her like coquettish ways and stuff. Some people find that really grating and really irritating. But Georgiana is just like, she takes everyone at face value and she's just like, she's great. She loves me. I need that love. Let's go.
Yeah. Bess, I think Bess, you can say she knew how to work a room and play people off of herself or others in order to get what she needed. And so Foreman writes that Bess did love Georgiana. They became companions and support systems to each other. But she says her love for Georgiana was that of a celebrity stalker. She wanted to be Georgiana and possess everything she had, including the Duke. Yikes.
But this is kind of what everyone around her saw that.
Yeah.
Because what was happening, and Georgiana was just like, no, this is my friend and she loves me. It's like Georgiana needed the level of love you get from an obsessive stan. Like she thrived off of, I don't know, they developed this like really intense lifelong, like for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically a menage a trois is how it's written about.
Well,
she moves to Chatsworth with Georgiana and eventually and she wants to be her so much so that she sleeps with her husband.
So this is where we get into the like, is this a bisexual polyamorous situation?
Polycule,
Yeah, or I don't think you can call it that when Georgiana's husband hates Georgiana. It's not when one person hates people. I don't think you can call it like a polyamorous thing. But Georgiana and Bess love each other. Were they? I don't know. It reminds me of it's all speculation, but like the movie The Favorite, which is also based on speculation. Yeah. But it's like, I think if Bess had thought that having sex with Georgiana would make Georgiana like her better, then she would do it. And Georgiana would be like, oh, she wants to have sex with me? That means she likes me. Let's do it. Like, I could see it happening, but no one ever wrote about it.
Yeah, it's definitely not like, not everyone is into it for the same reasons, but Bess almost like orchestrates a love triangle where she's getting a lot of attention from all sides, which I find very interesting. And I just, to be a fly on the wall, and see how this played out in real life would be so fascinating, because she moves into Chatsworth. She is not only Georgiana's best friend and confidant, but the Duke's official mistress. And so she kind of takes on some of that social hostessing duty that Georgiana is also doing. So Foreman writes on her website about the Duke, he ought to have married a self-confident, mature woman whose sole aim in life was to make him happy. Instead, he chose a needy adolescent whose clinginess repulsed him. Yet when she sought public adulation as compensation, he felt wounded and bitter, which I guess she credits to being the reason he was so open to having someone like Bess come into their relationship. Like, he kind of gets the best of both worlds.
But she and whatever's going on, she is getting something she needs from her friendship with Bess. I just like this detail because we have a lot of letters between them and they use code words like you do if you're like with your close friends, like you just have like a nickname for different people. So they call the Duke Canis, which has to do with like his love of dogs. And then Amanda Foreman writes, for reasons which have never been clear, Georgiana was Mrs. Rat and Bess was Racky.
Okay.
So these are their nicknames to each other.
This stuff doesn't have to make sense. I'm sure it was an inside joke.
They're just having a nice time together. But Bess insinuates herself into their life. So, and again, just to keep track with everything, Georgiana still has not had a child. So she's still just like under incredible amounts of pressure. She's had like several miscarriages and things. She goes off to Bath for treatments and stuff. Like, she's doing everything she can to try to conceive a child. And at some point in here, her husband's illegitimate daughter, Charlotte, comes to live with them.
Yeah, in 1780. So the daughter is named Charlotte Williams. And it's the custom of the time to, if you have an illegitimate child, you can take the father's Christian name and use it as a surname. And the Duke's first name is William. So everyone knew. And Charlotte is brought to Chatsworth. She lives with Georgiana before she has children of her own. But Georgiana doesn't really seem to care.
She seems to be happy about it. She just wants to be. Kid. She wants to be a mother, and now she can be one.
Yeah. And she writes that she's vastly pleased with her husband's illegitimate daughter. And of course, she's writing to her mom through all of this. So Lady Spencer is a little bit more candid. She writes to Georgiana, I hope you have not talked of her to people about Charlotte. And Georgiana comes back to her mom and she says, but she is the best humored little thing you ever saw. So like, there's just like this toddler or young girl in her house and like bringing her joy for the first time. So she's just rolling with the punches.
Yeah. It's every time I think I know what to expect from her or from this story, it's never that. It's like she's delighted to have this illegitimate daughter in the house.
Yeah.
Just back to the fashions of it all. I want to mention, so probably the most famous portrait of Georgiana is one where she's wearing this preposterous hat, and I'm going to describe the hat.
It's so chic. I love it.
So it's called the picture hat. So wide brim hats worn with a large sash and adorned with drooping feathers. So in this portrait, which is by Gainsborough, who's like the portrait artist of the time. So in this portrait, she designed this hat herself, apparently. This is a picture hat of her own design, perching it stylishly in the side of her head. After this portrait was put on exhibition, women up and down the country ordered their milliners to make them a copy of the Duchess of Devonshire hat, which is like, I want to say it's like a meter in circumference.
Huge.
It's the biggest
in the portrait. Like it's kind of off to the side, which her hair is so big because it's full of secrets. I don't know what this hat is attached to, but it's like cocked to one side. It's defying gravity is what it's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's sort of, if you look up Georgiana, Duchess of Devonshire, like this portrait will come up, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But if you picture sort of like the Mad Hatter's hat in Alice in Wonderland,
it's bigger than that.
What if that hat was bigger than your head? Like, it's so big. I'm excited to watch the Keira Knightley film. I'm going to do it for Patreon later after we've done this episode. But I looked up the pictures and I was like, in that film, they did not get the hat proportions right from what I can tell. Mm-mm. None of the hats were as big as the hats were. But they did. The accent, it would have been too silly to make a movie with hats.
Right, exactly. They could have done it in a comedic way. That would be so fun. Do like a remake, but just everything's absurd because it was.
Yeah.
The wigs are really good in that movie, I will say. She has this one curly wig that she wears in some of the political campaign scenes. It's so good. And she has the big hat with that. So I think the size of the hat was sacrificed, but in exchange, we got some really good wig moments, which you don't always, WIG wig, not WIG. No,
I'm here for WIG wigs. I love a historical film. There's a podcast called Frock Flicks. I don't know if you know them. They're on Instagram too. And they just they're like costume experts and they watch films and they like rate how accurate are the costumes. And when they are excited about wigs, they're like the frizziness of this wig. Like they really capture the frizziness of like 1860s Paris. Like when they're excited, I'm like, I'm going to watch this film because they said this wig is so good. So I'm sure they would like these wigs, WIGs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention the hat, partially because it's iconic and partially because Georgiana is still the it girl of all of England. Like through all of everything that's happening, like all of her like chaotic personal life and stuff, like every time she steps out in public, and you said like she lives in London mostly, it's just like, what is she wearing? Can we copy it? Like it's exactly like Marie Antoinette energy. So she wears a different thing every time she's seen because...
And that becomes useful to her because at this time she's active in politics. She's not embarking on like her biggest political appearances yet, but she is making public appearances to support Whigs, WHIG, and specifically Charles Fox. So 1780 and 1782, she's campaigning, not as openly as she will eventually, but she's making appearances, she's being seen, and all of that just keeps her in the papers. People are talking about her fashion, her social life, the parties she hosts, the people she's seen with. So it just propels all of that further.
And it's a really unique thing. Like we're used to seeing that now, like when there's an election going on, like Beyonce shows up at a campaign rally for whoever. Like, we're used to seeing a celebrity attach themselves to politics, to even a celebrity. But this was unheard of in this time for a woman to be involved, even to this level of just standing there silently in an outfit at a rally. She was doing something that women had historically never really done before.
Right.
But she was so beloved, no one hated her for it.
Right. Yeah. It didn't backfire against her until 1784. So that year there's a general election. Georgiana is 27 and she takes a more visible role than she has in the past.
I think she is requested. I think she's told to take. I don't think she takes it upon. She and Charles Fox, they were like,
they concoct this plan.
I think you stepping up is going to be helpful. And she's like, anything, I'm like 100p. I'm here for the wigs. Like, whatever you need me to do, like, I will do it.
And so she shows up in public. She doesn't just stand there, but she's like actively going door to door. She's campaigning in the streets and she's going to political meetings, which a woman could do, asterisk, if she was campaigning for like somebody in her family and just like showing up to show support. But like, no, this was politically based. It was because she supported the Whig Party. And it wasn't just throwing parties, being a hostess. It was door to door, like going, she would walk around London until she had blisters on her feet, talking to people, getting out the vote for Charles Fox.
And talking to like the ordinary people. Like, I want to ask her, at this time, the only people who could vote were land-owning men.
Yes.
So she's not like going into like the slums, but she's going into like places where like, if you picture, the effect is like, it's political, it's not, charitable, but it's like Princess Diana visiting the AIDS ward. It's like someone who's so like breaking taboo, going and meeting with somebody who you would never think that she would meet with. Like, she's just meeting with the everyday people. And this is it. I mean, imagine like Beyonce, Taylor Swift going door to door in like Philadelphia, just being like, hey, have you registered to vote? Like, she's so untouchable and famous. And she just goes to your house to be like, hey, can I count on your vote? Like Beyonce, what are you doing here? Like, it was incredible.
And this is the point where we've talked about like the attention she gets is largely positive until now. Her actions in openly campaigning politically are deemed like not just taboo breaking, but like a little transgressive. So at this point, she starts to be subjected to like satirical cartoonists. They draw pictures of her. They write about her in the press in a negative way, probably for the first time, I would say. There is this characterization of her like giving kisses in exchange for votes is the big one. They call this the Devonshire method.
Exactly. So it's akin to like, they're accusing her of basically sex work.
Yeah.
And what when Amanda Foreman talks about this in her book, she's saying like politicians today, like she would kiss a baby or whatever, but she was never just being like, I Taylor Swift will kiss you if you vote for whoever. It's like, but it's a way, it's like, how can we, like, how many times do you see this now, but also then in history of just like how, like, this woman is becoming too influential. How can we take her down a peg? It's like, oh, we'll call her a slut.
Exactly. And in the process, then they are calling the Duke a cuckold, literally left at home, like holding the baby while his wife's out there being politically active. Because remember,
do they have a baby at this point?
They did have a baby by the time that this election's going on in 1784.
This is their daughter who
83, I think. She finally has her first child.
I know, and she calls her Georgiana. And I am obsessed in history. It never happens anymore when a woman has a daughter and calls it after herself. I always say, bring that back.
Yeah.
Bring back naming your daughter after yourself.
It's so cute. I mean, I was thinking like women have this with our middle names. We pass those on down the line, but the first names definitely more rare. So she has her first child, Georgiana, called Little G.
Little G.
In 1783. 2 years later, she has Harriet, who they call Harryo, Harryo, which I love. That's so chic.
That's so cute. And also, side note, at a similar time, but before she actually has her first daughter, Bess Foster has a child and the father is.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot happening. Like, it's a dual narrative kind of situation. So Bess becomes pregnant via the Duke, but she doesn't want to tell Georgiana because she thinks she'll be mad at her.
which I feel like Georgiana would never be mad at her, but Bess doesn't know that yet. So Bess flees to
the continent.
Naples. Yeah. And she falls in love with, guess who? Axel von Fersen.
No, she doesn't. That's a lie.
She promptly fell in love with a handsome Swedish diplomat, Count Fersen. The Count had come from Versailles, where his departure had caused Marie Antoinette to cry in front of her tent. I'm not saying he fell in love back with her.
Right.
But she fell in love with him.
I do picture Jamie Dornan whenever we talk about Axel von Fersen, so that probably colors my understanding.
I was excited
of
to have Axel von Fersen show. So anyway, Bess goes to Naples. She has her child, and there's another French guy, and she claims that this French guy was the father. So she never says who the father really is, but she's just, so this is where, like, as much as Bess was like up there with Georgiana living the high life, when she becomes pregnant, she goes to Naples, gives birth in some like peasant shack, and is kind of living not the exciting life that Georgiana is living. And then when Georgiana finally has a child, like that solidifies her position as like the wife, although she needs a son still, but finally, what she wanted for so long. She has a child. Thank God.
Right. So Bess has a kid. I think it's 1785. So Georgiana at this point has the 2 daughters, but they don't really count because they can't inherit. So essentially she still hasn't done her duty. So it would be another 2 years before Georgiana finally has her son. But it's interesting, like she still continued to write to Bess while she was away having the Duke's. She has 2 children by him. And after the second one is born, there's a letter from Georgiana where she writes to her, "Dear Bess, I know you are safe and therefore not hurt. Always write to him if you have not time for both." So she's saying, if you have to choose between writing to me or my husband, the father of your child, you should pick him because I'm Georgiana and I need everyone to be happy around me all the time.
Yeah. Like that's part of her thing too. It's like she needs this love and attention from people all the time. But she also wants...
She's like a people pleaser.
No, she is. She's sort of like the child of divorce who just like wants everyone to get along all the time. Like so she's always doing whatever she can to make everybody to not have arguments.
Whether that's raising your husband's illegitimate child from a previous relationship or eventually letting Bess's children, who initially get fostered out to other families, but Georgiana lets them come to Chatsworth and be raised alongside her own children with the Duke. So they're like half siblings and they're basically treated the same as if they were the Duke's legitimate children.
There's this, and more children become involved, which I'll get into probably in part 2. But back to the politics, I just want to mention some outfits. So please. Georgiana was doing this, but there's some other women. So the Duchess of Portland, Lady Jersey, Lady Carlisle, Mrs. Bouverie, and 3 ladies Waldegrave were among the people parading around, like drumming up the votes for the Whigs, and they were wearing their blue and buff, and they had added a thing which is foxtails in their hats.
There is a fabulous outfit in the Keira Knightley movie with some foxtails involved. It's so good.
And this, of course, gets everyone starts getting foxtails in their hats because it's just like, I saw Regina George wearing a foxtail in her hat, so I'm going to wear a foxtail in her hat.
I wonder if this impacted like the ecosystem in Britain at all, if we could dig that out of the historical record.
100%. Well, I'm just like, did ostriches, did they become endangered? People plucking their feathers all the time?
Right.
So this is where, like, just in terms of this election, 1784. So the 3 themes of the, like, anti-Georgiana slander were, like, she was selling her body for votes, she was Charles Fox's mistress, and she was betraying her rank and sex by her, quote, undignified behavior.
Yeah. And she knows that this is being written about her. She writes either in a journal or in a letter. She says, "I'm really so vexed, though I don't say so." And she spells though, THO, like as if she's texting, which I really like. "I'm really so vexed, though I don't say so, at the abuse in the newspapers that I have no heart left. It is very hard. They should single me out when all the women of my side do as much. But she's the star that shines the brightest. So much like a Diana, she kind of has this target on her back for that."
Yeah, exactly. Like you could be like, "Oh my God, Mrs. So-and-so is out doing the vote." And everyone's like, who cares? But it's like Georgiana, the person that you've been writing every day about for the last 10 years. Like
that's a Meghan Markle parallel right there, if I've ever seen one. Like if she does it, we have so many things to say, but Kate Middleton comes along 2 years later and does it, and it's fine.
No, exactly. Like they wanted an excuse to hate her. But also this is because like do you know the movie Strictly Ballroom?
No.
Oh my God. So it's like Baz Luhrmann's first movie. Okay. And it's about ballroom dancers. And this guy comes in and he like introduces new steps and everyone's like, new steps. because they're Australian. Anyway, they're like, new steps, new. And they're all just like shocked that this guy's doing new steps in ballrooms. So I just feel like Georgiana is out there just being like a new way of campaigning. And everyone's just like, what? Like kissing babies, going door to door. Like this is, Tories have never done that. Whigs have never done that. Like she's inventing the kind of way that people campaign politically now. And it's shocking and it's effective. And that's why they're attacking her, because it is swaying people's minds.
It's what they call now tall poppy syndrome. Like, and that's something that gets attached to Taylor Swift a lot too, is like, you can be successful and beautiful and celebrated until you start to outpace everybody else. And then you are the tallest poppy and we have to find a way to cut you down. And so that's, at the time she's finally having children, that's also what she's dealing with. You could not pay me enough money to be in this situation. As fun as I think her life was, like the psychological turmoil alone would break me.
No, and just to be clear, like she's doing all this stuff. It's like she's found politics, she's got children, but it's like she's still gambling and taking drugs all the time. Like that is how she is dealing with this stress still.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention something fun she does, which is she sponsored the first ever hot air balloon.
Heck yeah.
So the invention of the hot air balloon was, so this is like 1783. The Montgolfier brothers astounded the court at Versailles by floating a 60-foot balloon 6,000 feet in the air. And then people were really excited about it. And so she brought the first hot air balloon to England, and there was a hot air balloon party. So she's always on the cutting edge of, you were saying like the rocks and like the mineral, like she's super science. She's a lady in STEM.
Because it's the Enlightenment too. Like that's also going on. And she eventually she sort of runs a salon. So she is intellectual, but she also happens to wear hot air balloons, I'm imagining, in her hair at the same time.
I feel like, I don't know if helium was like a thing people knew about, but I feel like if it was, she would have like actual balloons floating, bobbing overhead.
Yeah.
But speaking of her fashion in this era, actually, we were talking about this election stuff. Like, guess what? I believe they lost. But, right?
The Whigs?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a great question.
I feel like it was not a resounding success. But honestly, I kind of skipped over all the Whigs and Tories pages.
So let me see here. After the election, she continues to support the Whigs, although more privately. She also, her relationship with Prinny becomes political. She's kind of his advisor while he is backing the Whigs. So she's also whispering in his ear as well, which I love.
I love that. But she's also being a fashion girly, because this is, if you're listening to this in parallel with my Marie Antoinette episodes, this is where she introduces the muslin gown.
Yeah.
So this is around the same time that Marie Antoinette was painted by Elizabeth Vigée-Lebrun in the, like, what I call in the podcast, the fuck dress. It's just sort of like, it's like a white, simple muslin dress. And people in Paris were just like, I can't believe the queen is wearing this. This is basically undergarments. This is shocking. This is also anti-French. How dare you usurp our silk industry by buying cotton? Anyway, so she started wearing the muslin gown. It was inspired by what women, like Creole women in the West Indies, were wearing because it's hot there. Anyway, so she introduces this into London society. And then also there's a minor scandal when one of her seamstresses was bribed to reveal her latest design. Could you imagine this happening to, I don't even know, Zendaya?
Kate Middleton.
Yeah. Several ladies paid for the drawings, each thinking she was the only one, because then that way they would know and they could like be fashionable for her.
That's
but
so
they were
funny.
all exposed several weeks later when they arrived at a ball wearing the same dress.
You look stupid. That's so funny. It reminds me of Diana's wedding dress designers. They made like fully decoy dresses. Not because I guess people would copy, but because the press would find out if they weren't careful.
They made like fake wedding dresses so that if people found out, there's a 1 in 3 chance that they would spoil the wrong dress.
Yeah. I love it.
And then I believe, speaking of the French Revolution, she's like, let's go on a trip to Paris during the National Assembly.
Smart. She just needs to be where all the action is.
I think she clearly wasn't. Well, it's weird because the Whigs are the like quote unquote progressive party. So I think the French Revolution, like pre-French Revolution, it's just kind of like, hey, let's be like America. Let's just make things a bit cooler for everybody. She was on the side of that, the like intellectual pre-French Revolution type people. She's like, yeah, I support this as a Whig. This is cool. I'm into it. Even though I'm friends with Marie Antoinette, I get along with everybody. I'm a people pleaser.
It's a little idealistic for sure.
But she literally goes to Paris during the Estates General. And it's a bit much. But I'm just kind of looking at what I've highlighted here. But basically, they were there. It was getting a bit intense. And her husband is like, what if we leave? But she was like too afraid of her creditors. I think this is part of why she left.
Oh, I see.
She feared her creditors more than the semi-literate revolutionaries.
Sure. She must have felt untouchable too. That must have been part of it.
Yeah. So I believe, look at like in your notes, you would have this, but I think she was pregnant during the time in Paris. Like this is when she has her son, I think.
So she gives birth to her son, William, in 1790.
Yeah. So this is like, I think there was something they were in France, she was pregnant. And then it's like her husband went back for basically her sister, Harriet, was involved in some sort of scandal and her husband had to kind of calm things down. But they're like, it's too dangerous. Like she's had so many miscarriages. They're like, we can't put her in a boat when she's pregnant. So then she stayed in Paris where it's like, okay, so I'll just give birth during the French Revolution, I guess.
Crazy.
But she does. And she has a son, finally, a son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has
done her job.
5 years after her second daughter is born. So 1790, she gives birth to William. I think he's the Earl of Hartington. So they call him Hart, H-A-R-T. Again, these nicknames.
Her children, Little G, Harry O, and Hart.
Yeah, cute. I like it. And so she's fully in her mom era after this point. And she, again, like Marie Antoinette, she follows Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who writes about child rearing in the natural way and how
like
children...
She breastfeeds her own children and stuff.
Yes.
Like scandalous to everybody.
She like really believes that if, hey, I'm affectionate towards my children, they will be better off, which is radical for the time. So
but yeah, also Princess Diana, right? It's like she hugged William and Harry and everyone's like, oh, hugging a royal? Like, what if I smother my children in affection? Maybe that will make them happy.
And it works. Her kids, like, they do not grow up feeling like their mom is distant. She's very involved in their everyday lives. She writes letters to them in her blood. Did you see this?
No.
She uses her blood to write notes to her children when she is away.
Okay. I think we're going to, because we'll explain in the next episode why.
Yes.
She loves her children so much. Why is she away? We'll get to that. There's also going to be I've got some hot information. I just learned about Earl Grey tea. Mm-hmm. We'll be spilling the tea, Earl Grey hot, in part 2 of this. Georgiana, like I knew this is going to be a 2-part episode. Like this
for sure.
It's not just like how long did she live, but it's just like how much happened to her per year.
She lived several different lifetimes, and she didn't have an exceptionally long life.
No,
we're really just talking about 1770s to 1806, right? So
yeah. But it's like in terms of the eras, like she's got, I think this is where I thought like we can take a break because she's just been striving ever since she got married to have a son. Yep, she finally does. Done it. And that means she can be a mother, which she's always wanted to be. But then also it means she can now potentially take a lover, which we'll talk about next time. Bess is still just there like
everyone else gets to have lovers. It's finally her turn.
Oh my gosh. There's part 2. Like if you think this is like wild, like wait until part 2. But so to wrap up this episode, Amanda, can you tell everybody, remind everybody where they can follow you and find your
of
content?
Course. Yeah. So I am at Matta of Fact. That's MATTA_of_fact on Instagram and TikTok, where I do royal commentary. I also have a newsletter on Substack that's called The Fascinator for royal news and royal commentary, and a twice weekly this year podcast, Off With Their Headlines. So that's wherever you get your pods. It's me and Meredith Constant, and we will have a very special guest of our own in a couple weeks to talk about maybe some other Regency stuff.
I'm so psyched to have, I don't know the timing of all this when this episode comes out versus that, but like I agreed to remove some royal commentary about the current royals from my book, Rebel of the Regency.
Outside the scope.
Yeah, but I'm going to reveal in that podcast what shit
so
I was
excited.
But I also, so my book, Rebel of the Regency, I wanted to say, unless you have more things, you have your Substack.
Nope, that's it.
I was just my book, Rebel of the Regency, if you want to read about this era with the minimum amount of Napoleon and the minimum amount of Whigs and Tories. I think you've got a copy of the book. Like when you get to this part, I think I actually say in the book, it's just like, I've avoided talking about Napoleon, but now we have to. Like I put put it off as much as I could in my book. The Whigs and Tories, same thing.
And the world thanks you for it.
Well, it's like if you want to get Whigs and Tories talk, read Amanda Foreman's book, The Duchess,
right.
Or like I did, skim those chapters. But my book, Rebel of the Regency, The Scandalous Saga of Caroline of Brunswick, Britain's Uncrowned Queen, is going to be available everywhere February 10th. You can pre-order it in Canada, the US, the UK, and Australia. Go to rebeloftheregency.com. That's where all the links are to pre-order it and stuff. And, you know, the time is adding up. Like, I have my pre-order treats. So if people share their receipt with me, they can get a free year, like paid access to my Substack, a free year's paid access to my Patreon, and the Caroline of Brunswick paper dolls, because she was a fashion girly as well. And I wanted to celebrate that as best I could. And then also want to let everybody know, I'm going to be having a book launch event. So it's where I live in Canada, in Saskatoon. And I'm like, I know a lot of people listening are not in Saskatoon, but it's going to be live streamed on YouTube. So Friday the 13th, auspicious day, right? The day before Valentine's. So the evening of Friday, February 13th, it'll be streamed on YouTube, and like there'll be a person there monitoring the chat. So like you can interact with me and stuff. So if you follow the link, which I'll put in here, and otherwise follow me on social media, etc. Next week, come back for me and Amanda, probably wearing these same outfits, to be talking about Georgiana's the second half of this scandalous story. So until next time, keep your pants on and your tits out. Vulgar History is researched, scripted, and hosted by Anne Foster. Editor is Christina Lumagi. Theme music is by the Severn Duo. Regency Era artwork by Karen Moynihan. Social media videos by Magdalena Denson. Transcripts of this podcast are available at vulgarhistory.com by Aveline Malik. You can get early, ad-free episodes of Vulgar History by becoming a paid member of our Patreon at patreon.com/AnneFosterWriter. Vulgar History merchandise is available at vulgarhistory.com/store for Americans, and at vulgarhistory.redbubble.com for everyone else. Follow us on social media at Vulgar History Pod. Get in touch with me at vulgarhistorypod@gmail.com.
The war is over, and both sides lost. Kingdoms were reduced to cinders, and armies scattered like bones in the dust. Now the survivors claw to what's left of a broken world, praying the darkness chooses someone else tonight. But in the shadow dark, the darkness always wins. This is old school adventuring at its most cruel. Your torch ticks down in real time, and when that flame dies, something else rises to finish the job. This is a brutal rules-light nightmare with a story that emerges organically based on the decisions that the characters make. This is what it felt like to play RPGs in the 80s, and man, it is so good to be back. Join the Glass Cannon podcast as we plunge into the shadow dark every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/theglasscannon, with the podcast version dropping the next day. See what everybody's talking about and join us in the dark.
From the darkest corners of our imagination comes a game show that's more ridiculous than terrifying. Welcome to Tickled to Death, the horror comedy game show where nothing is sacred, everything's a little unhinged, and the only thing more cursed than the questions are the jokes. I'm Roz Hernandez, your fearless host, and each week I'll be leading a brave group of guests through twisted horror trivia, improv games, and enough sarcastic banter to make you question all your life's choices. So come for the screams, stay for the snark. Listen to Tickled to Death wherever you get your podcasts, and hit follow unless you want the show to follow you. In the meantime, don't get tickled to death.
If you love those "wait, what?" moments, you'll love Something You Should Know. I'm Mike Carruthers, and on my podcast, we explore the fascinating ideas hiding in plain sight, like how elevators change the entire world, how gravity affects your health more than you think, or how to instantly become a better conversationalist. Each episode is fast, fun, and full of insight you'll want to share. So give it a try. Search for Something You Should Know wherever you get your podcasts.